Okay, good morning, everybody. I know everybody's still coming in, but we're going to get started. I think everybody knows me. I'm Brandon. Katie and I have been working with the Ukrainian Bible Institute for the last 7 years. Hi, Wagners. So this morning I want to give you an update on our ministry of the Ukrainian Bible Institute, a little more details on the news that our family has towards the end. But as always, this is just a time to encourage you with news that is happening that you probably aren't aware of or aren't thinking about very much. A thank you for participating in it the way that you do by supporting our family. And so we'll start where I always start these years, by just updating you on how the situation is, because I hear the same thing. We don't hear it in the news much. What's going on over there? Are things getting better? Etc. And no news, same news. Things are terrible. Things are terrible in Ukraine, and the attacks continue to come. This year actually started with the closest the Ukrainian Bible Institute felt when the building our offices are in were hit by a drone. This was in January. Now there's no sound. It was quite a surprise. Now this is a very large building, like hundreds of apartments. Our offices are on the opposite side, and we're not affected at all. That's how big this building is. But dozens of apartments were damaged, a couple of them completely destroyed. And it was a double-tap attack. So 30 minutes later, rescue workers were on the ground, and they sent another drone to the same place and killed one of our co-workers' neighbors who was a paramedic there. Yeah. I'll move it closer. So, thankfully, all our UBI staff, everybody's fine. This is the neighborhood where our apartment was in. But the headlines continue. This was at the end of May, and this is a similar headline we keep seeing. One of the biggest attacks on Kyiv the entire war, and they keep growing. In fact, just a few days ago, there was another massive attack in Kyiv, half destroying an apartment building. And this was the largest attack Russia has made on the capital the entire invasion. It just continues. So every attack, we get these updated maps of what was launched from where to where, and it's scary all the time. This continues to happen. One of our students is from the town of Kramatorsk, which is in the southeast of Ukraine, and is more and more close to the front lines. And he works there as the preacher and helps with the humanitarian aid work. And at the beginning of June, there was a drone or missile attack right outside of the church building, which blew out all the windows. And I asked him to share a story. We're going from the microphone on my computer, however, so let's make sure this works. Obviously, it's some Russian, but I'd like to hear your voices.
Ну, там недавно был прилет, вылетели у нас окна, двери, весь фасад здания, то есть все целое, слава богу, все хорошо. То есть такая мелкая царапина, я могу сказать. Ну, уже заделали, уже в это воскресенье даже у нас собирались люди, хоть их было 18, думаю, понятно почему, потому что ракета страшно было. Хотим вот сейчас подвал привести в порядок и в подвале еще собираться.
So, the attacks keep coming. It's a part of daily life for Ukraine, and so nothing's better. Things are probably objectively worse. However, you might have heard over the last weeks that over the last few months, Ukraine has been making a lot of important strides, more attacks on Russian oil infrastructure in Russia, sometimes deep into Russia, They've done well at controlling certain routes that Russia uses for keeping their troops refueled. Just this morning, there was reports that they sent the entire Crimea Peninsula into a blackout. So they're making really good strides, but it's still a numbers game, so it's not like they're about to win or anything. Russia still has the advantage in the numbers, but we're hoping and praying that these advances will hurry along some sort of end ceasefire agreement kind of thing. But Putin did say, I think yesterday, that the attacks must continue, and so we don't expect much to change yet. So Ukraine's not doing great, but UBI is doing pretty well. Praising God that there's been a lot of good stuff happening with the Institute. Just because I haven't done this in a while, here is our UBI staff. You recognize a couple of the faces. Most of them are in Kyiv. Most of them are in our offices in Kyiv, but a couple of them are in different places in Ukraine. And then the couple at the bottom is Richard and Denise Baggett. They live in the DFW area, and they have been huge in helping us with our humanitarian aid work, fundraising, connections on this side. So I spend most of my week connecting with most of these people in different ways at different times. Our ministry training program continues to grow. Last year was one of our largest years of new students coming in since, more than 20 years. We started with 25 students, 25 new students at the beginning of the year. And this year we're praying for at least 20 more. And if that's true, with the students returning and the new students coming in, we'll have one of the largest student bodies we've had since the very beginning days of UBI. So very excited about that. Classes, just as a reminder, everything is online, which allows students to join us from wherever they are, mostly in Ukraine, but we have students joining us from around Europe as well, all of them Ukrainian or Russian speaking. This is class on Zoom. The man on the top right is Dave Phillips. He's a minister in Tennessee. He was joining us to teach the book of Jeremiah. Online studies, online training. Many of our students join us from their cell phones, which they're spending that many hours a day staring at their tiny screens. This is a special moment we had back in April. We were able to go to Greece for a couple of different ministry-related things, but one of them was to deliver the diploma to a man named Alexei Bolbat, who studied with us at UBI and graduated last year. And when we talked about trying to get his diploma to him, we settled on, how about when you're in the area, you can just bring it to me. And so in April, we finally made that happen. He is a Russian immigrant to Greece and has been there for more than 30 years. And he is now working as one of the ministers at that congregation in Athens, and we had a lovely week together. He took time off of his other job. He works part-time with a different job. He took time off just to show us around, take us where we needed to go, and it was a nice blessing. These are our graduates this year, just finished in June. I was just in Kyiv a few weeks ago. They have 8 students that have graduated. The one on the top right, his name is Oleg. I've actually known him from Kharkiv for many, many years. And just last week, he was grabbed by military police off the street and taken away to, hopefully, boot camp. Sometimes they rush boot camp and send you straight to the front line. But he actually has a legal reason not to be serving. So he's got a lawyer, and hoping that will clear up. But this is a common part of life for men in Ukraine, hoping that they don't get snatched off the streets and just sent off. And he was one of those, so we're praying for him. Only 4 of our graduates were able to come to graduation, partly because of that situation. It's just not safe for a lot of them to travel. But these are the 4 that joined us. The man on the right, his name is Yevgeny. Also met him in Kharkiv many years ago. And he has been a refugee with his wife in Germany the last 3 years, and he studied with us and completed the program, and he is now a confident man. You see how he is standing in those white pants? That is what UBI can do for you. He is. He absolutely is. And this isn't just a random picture. He looks like this in every picture that I took. So our program is 18 months long. And then after that, students that are interested and able, who qualify, are able to do a 6-month internship. And what that means is staying in their home congregations, but continuing to receive financial support so that they can work full-time and help in different ministries in their church, which also meets a great need that churches have right now in hands available to help, because so many of the people in the churches have evacuated, have moved on. So some of the students are not able to do it because they don't have essentially a mentor figure, anybody to follow up, like to be with them and work with them on that side of things. So we did actually have to tell some of them no this year, just because it wouldn't be what it's supposed to be otherwise. But that internship goes for 6 months. We have assignments for them, we have expectations for them, and their church has expectations for them. And the reviews are really, really positive. So at the beginning of June, we met for a few days with our students who could come, as well as any family members they wanted to bring, for a retreat. We spent a couple of days just having fun together, playing games together. They wrote letters to sponsors and to teachers, and we studied a certain kind of Bible study method together, and it was just fantastic to see each other in 3-dimensional space. And when you only study on Zoom, you only see somebody on Zoom, you're often surprised at what people look like in real life. A few years ago, they're not in this picture or anything, a few years ago, we all went to our first in-person thing, and then everybody else, except for this couple, was like, they are so short. I had no idea how short they were. So everybody's equal on Zoom. So we had a really good time together, and very thankful for these students and what they are doing. I asked one student to go and interview several of the other students about their experience at UBI. And so here's a quick 5-minute video with some quotes from them.
Во время учебы в УБИ я осознал, что стал совсем другим человеком. Восприйняття мира моє змінилось.
Для мене навчання в УБІ – це благословення, тому що дійсно я дуже багато що відкрила для себе. Я багато чула про Господа, я багато знала, але в мене була жага по Слову Божому, і я хотіла навчитися і зрозуміти те все, що Господь відкриває в Слові Божому.
Я начал замечать такие детали, когда я сам дома читал Писание, я их не замечал. Но когда пришел в институт, мне наши преподаватели, которые, например, и американские, и наши вот в Украине, мой кругозор вот так вот расширился, потому что мы тоже знаем, да, когда читаем Библию, ты каждый день ее читаешь, и каждый день что-то новое узнаешь. То есть, и вот эти вот как раз-таки вот эти детали, которые я не замечал, они как раз-таки помогают еще лучше понять мне, как Писание правильно трактуется и так далее, и что я неправильно всегда делаю.
Когда я пришла в УБИ, я вообще думала, что у меня не получится, что стихи я не смогу учить. И меня удивило то, что с каждым разом, когда я только учила стихи, и у меня все получалось.
Більш глибші стосунки з Богом за рахунок молитви, тому що уроки по духовному формуванню.
Я багато дізналася істин і всього, що мене дійсно збудувало як особистість і як жінку.
Я могу людям отвечать на вопросы, которые задают мне. В моем служении, я служу в тюремном служении, люди, которые вообще не знают Христа. И я стала правильно и четко строить свои доклады. Я научилась со своим духовным состоянием работать, и я учу других людей точно так же работать со своим духовным состоянием и укреплять свой дух.
А коли вже я закінчила УБІ, я більш впевнено почала розповідати, більш впевнено доносити це.
Те знания, которые нам преподносили преподаватели наши по всем курсам, они все, мы все применяем сейчас в своем служении.
Приємно здивувало те, що тут люди постійно підбадьорювали і говорили, що у вас все вийде, не хвилюйтесь, ви не перші, якщо у вас щось не виходить, звертайтесь. Тобто, не так, як в звичайних навчальних закладах, да, ти сам тягнешся, якщо щось не вийшло, тебе можуть відрахувати, так, а тут навпаки тебе підтримують. Мені здається, люди в ОБІ більше вірили в мене, чим я сама в себе.
Інколи було важко, але слава Богу, у нас все вийшло це зробити, ми живі. Я не знаю.
Всем огромное спасибо, и пусть их Господь благословит. А мы постараемся быть достойными преемниками.
Ми б також хотіли в свій час взяти ось зараз після навчання цю естафету, нести її, передавати іншим, запалювати людей, так як в свій час запалили нас.
Спонсори просто закладають величезну допомогу, і щоб розвивалися майбутні служителі.
Я хочу поблагодарить от всей души наших спонсоров и сказать, что если бы не они, то очень много людей не смогли бы познать Бога.
Тому я висловлюю щиру подяку усім братам і сестрам, усім громадам, котрі приймають у цьому участь. Нехай Бог вас благословить.
Я бы хотел выразить огромную благодарность от всех нас, студентов, которые учились, которые учатся и будут учиться. Вы делаете колоссальную, важную работу.
Спасибо вам большое, что вы нам помогаете и тем самым служите и делаете очень большое дело.
Я даже не могу выразить словами, потому что это меня переполняет чувство благодарности к Богу за то, что есть такие люди, благодаря которым мы знаем Слово, благодаря которым мы можем идти дальше, возрастать и способствовать спасению тех, которые еще нуждаются в этом.
Я надеюсь, что я когда-нибудь выучу английский еще чуть-чуть лучше, да, чтобы я с вами разговаривать мог, и я к вам приеду в Америку и увижу, кто же эти люди, какое их лицо, как они выглядят. То есть я очень вам благодарен за это. Спасибо, что вы таким примером для нас служите.
So, that's the ministry training arm of the Ukrainian Bible Institute. I want to talk about also the ministry network, the humanitarian aid work, and those things that we're doing. So before we move on from that, are there any questions that you might have about the program, our ministry training program, or any questions about the students or anything that you saw? No, he's not married, and he's very young.
Maybe we could bring him over here and introduce him to our grandkids.
Nope, he won't go back. I'm not letting you take him. He's actually not allowed to leave the country. He's a very nice guy. He talks very fast. Any questions about the program, or maybe the students? Yes? Some of them, like for him, for example, he's part of a group of like 5 students that started UBI this year that see each other a lot. Most of them actually go to the same congregation, so they see each other in real life. But a lot of students are just by themselves wherever they are joining us, and so they don't know each other very well. But almost every Friday we have what we call a spiritual formations class, where we talk beyond the text and more about how are you doing and skills to take care of yourself spiritually. And in that class, we do a lot of breaking out into groups, prayer times together, and the students have repeatedly said, like, this is the time we get to know each other, and this is a beautiful fellowship time. So we make space for it on Zoom, but it's absolutely not the same thing. Yes?
New students, like, is it mostly word of mouth?
It's only word of mouth, and it usually comes after these words. Have you ever thought about studying at UBI? We have our Facebook group, and we have a group on the Telegram chat thing that people follow, and we keep our announcements there. But everybody that studies UBI is from the Churches of Christ, and the number of Churches of Christ in Ukraine is pretty limited. And so it really only comes from how healthy the churches are doing, and new Christians are coming through there, and then they come to UBI. Or, in the case of how things have changed, we have a lot of women, particular moms, who said, I've been wanting to come to UBI for years, but there was no way I was going to be able to move for 2 years to Kyiv and go to school. So they're able to actually do both now, and they're very thankful for that. Yeah, Jim? Before the full-scale invasion started in February 2022, we did a count and got close to 70. That number's significantly lower now that a lot of those tiny ones have disappeared. But it's somewhere around probably 50, 60 technically. Yes?
When internet goes down, there are attacks and stuff. Are you recording your classes because they're live, right?
Yeah.
So that someone can go back if they missed it because.
Yeah. So every single class, every single day is recorded on Zoom. And then students who are not able to be with us, initially the idea was when you don't have electricity, when it turns on later in the day, you can watch the class. So long as the students watch the class and turn in a picture of their notes that they were in the class before the next day's class, they're not counted as absent. And it's something that we've adjusted for that. But it's also worked out because so many of them are involved in ministry. So like every Tuesday I can't be in class because we're doing this outreach thing. And it allows them to do that too. So every single class is recorded. And internet in Ukraine, despite the war, still way better than it is here. And way cheaper. Power goes out. The internet service providers have backup power that will last a day or 2 days. So as long as you have some kind of power bank or something like that, and you can plug it into your router, you can stay online for 1 or 2 days, or however long your battery will last you. And then, of course, all mobile internet is usually pretty good in keeping you online all the time. One more little story before we move on to the next section. The lady that said she's involved in prison ministry, her church also does hospital visitation. They just go as groups to visit people who are in the hospital all by themselves. And she said she walked in one day and there was an Orthodox priest in there, and he was very curious, like, what are you doing here? What church, do you think you're from? And that kind of thing. And so he started to test her, like kind of theology, grill her theologically. And at the end of it, he turns to everybody in the room and says, this woman knows Jesus. And she is one that's just like, I have learned so much. I never thought I would be able to do UBI, and I'm doing it, and I'm learning, and I'm having these conversations. So it's beautiful. So on the other hand of UBI, we have what we call our ministry network, which is primarily food distribution, but also different kinds of aid that we see is a need or that has been specifically requested from certain churches. So we help over 30 different congregations in Ukraine, a couple in Poland, and one even in the Netherlands. And most of these are UBI alumni, but not all of them. And what the main program that we do is we purchase groceries that turn into like little grocery packages that are then sent to churches all over Ukraine, and those church leaders use them for in whatever way they want to help those around them. There are no stipulations, no conditions. We're supplying them. UBI tries to help others shine their lights brighter. That happens with our students in the classroom, and that happens through this ministry. And so there is a lot of monthly distribution. This little, oops, it's not a video today. So this is what most of it looks like, these grocery packages that are distributed. And everybody does it different. Some churches will help the same families for like 3 months in a row. Some churches will only help one family one time. They all do it depending on where they are. The churches that are in the east that are really suffering, the cities that are really suffering, they do it completely differently than those in the west that are more stable and quiet. And I love that everybody's doing it their own way. This last winter was the worst winter Ukraine's had in the whole 4.5 years of the war. And we saw a power need coming, And so we started asking all of these partners if they would like a generator and or portable power bank. And almost all of them responded. Some already had some. And so we sent these big power systems to them, and they all used them differently. Some were so grateful to have power to use their projector for showing The Chosen on Bible study nights or something like that. Others are actually providing light, sometimes heat for people, and it was really great to get those out. So all told, like we're providing enough groceries that give out 7,000 meals every single day. This happens through donations all over the United States that continue to come in. This continues to do well. Every year we've thought, okay, we're probably going to start seeing this drop off, and it continues to go well, and we continue to actually see more people donating, which is fantastic. And these come through, donations are sent to the Sunset International Bible Institute and made available to us to get to where we think it needs to go. Another program we have, which is much smaller in budget scheme, but we tell these churches, if there's anything you need, some specific request, simple, like from one church asked for a lawnmower, another church asked for like a few $100s to put on a ladies' event. Any specific ministry for a church, they can ask, and they don't always get it, or we are not always able to supply all of it, but it allows them to get more specific about the needs that they have. Now, in June, I went to Kyiv, and for 2.5 days, we had a retreat with our students. And then the next 3.5 days, we had our 5th Serving Those Who Serve retreat. And this is something that's become one of my favorite things that we do, and something that brings such a beautiful response. We invite all of our ministry partners, the ministers at these congregations. They'll bring 1 or 2 people that are significant in their work in the church, and we invite them to this retreat center outside of Kyiv, and they have 3 days to rest in quiet for the most part. This year it was completely quiet as far as drone attacks and things, and many that come from the east say on the very first morning, we've done this 3 years now in this place, and they say, this is the first good night's sleep I've had in who knows how long. So they have rest, they have quiet, fellowship, which is so dear. Basically, since COVID, there's not been a lot of these fellowship events, and the wars made them even more complicated than they were before. And then we have a time, it's not a conference, not a seminar, but we have these themes that are designed to get them thinking about their own spiritual health. You've been serving lots of people, you are busy day to day with this, but how are you? How is your family? So this year's theme was, what is your rule of life? And we talked about habits. And that's actually what I want to share with you this morning during sermon time, a very condensed version of that. So it is just a wonderful time to be together, and this is actually ended up how we get new students as well. Because these preachers will bring like new Christians that are helping them so much in church, and then they experience a tiny bit of UBI fellowship and event, and they just say, I like this. And one person came up this year and said, I see what you're doing. This is like one big UBI advertisement, isn't it? And it wasn't designed to be that way, but it essentially is that, and he is interested in coming to UBI now.
Geographically, where is this retreat?
So Kyiv is basically central Ukraine, and it's just an tiny city outside of Kyiv. Yeah, this is in Ukraine. I was there at the beginning of June. Now, the humanitarian aid work, the ministry network, is not just about these grocery packages. We also sponsor different churches' ministries through the summer, which involve a lot of VBS, providing resources for churches to host VBS or youth camps, mostly for refugee kids, refugee families, but then there also are the core group of kids that are a part of every church. This is a youth group in Warsaw. There's a full Ukrainian church, a large Ukrainian church in the city of Warsaw that's made up all of refugees. This man on the left is a Ukrainian UBI alumnus. It's going so fast, I don't know. Plural, singular. A graduate. And he and his wife evacuated when the war started, and they just landed in Warsaw for a few days. And they were planning to go to Germany because they heard there were different opportunities for Ukrainians in Germany. And everybody was going through Warsaw. So he's getting call after call, and hey, do you know where we can do this? And after weeks of staying, after they planned to stay 3 days and they're there 3 weeks, they thought, we've got a ministry here. We don't need to leave here. And so they stayed. This is a youth event happening in The Hague, where a lot of Ukrainians have gone to, and where one of our Ukrainian Bible Institute alumni is. Camp in Warsaw. In fact, right now, this weekend, there is a ladies' event in Sopot, Poland that we are helping sponsor, and it is followed by a kids' camp where Ukrainians connected to Churches of Christ in Poland are headed to Sopot, Poland for a retreat. This is in Elbląg, Poland. That's Bogdan on the left, studying with one of their new young converts. This is a church building where there's a Church of Christ in the city of Sopot, Poland, and there was a Church of Christ years ago in the city of Elbląg. It eventually just kind of died away, and so that church there gave the, what do you give? Title, the building, everything to the church in Sopot. So when there were so many Ukrainians there, the church said, why don't we send one of the ministers that are here to Elbląg? And they asked, and Bogdan said they would go. So he moved his family. It's about an hour away. And they started a church from zero, and now they have quite a group. In fact, several of them have become Christians, and studied at UBI. This is a girls' event that some of our current students hosted. Several groups from different cities came to the church in Kyiv to have that. This is a picture of moms, and these moms are signing their kids up for VBS or something. This is an important picture because it's a reminder and actually proof that through the children, parents are coming too. And in fact, there's a woman in this picture who sent her kids to the VBS and was so impressed with what she was hearing that she came and said, I need to know more about this. And through that, she became baptized. She became a student at UBI. So reaching the next generation is happening. And I want to tell a little story about this girl. On the left is the same girl as the girl in the stripes on the right, in the right picture. But this is in Warsaw. That's our graduate, Yura. She's from a city that was hit really hard at the beginning of the war, and her mom was a doctor. And because her mom was a doctor, and a lot of people were being injured, soldiers and civilians as well, she was required to be at the hospital nearly 24 hours a day. And her 11-year-old daughter ended up having to be at home by herself almost 24 hours a day. And there was one particular attack where it was extremely loud, extremely close to where they lived. Mom was at the hospital. There's curfew at night. You're not allowed to travel. And then, of course, when that's happening, nobody's traveling. And so she got home as soon as she could. She got home, found her daughter safe, curled up under the kitchen table, and not speaking. She was no longer speaking, no longer responding. And the mom had this moment of realization that I'm spending all my time saving other people's families, and I'm losing my own. So she, her daughter, and grandma left, headed to Poland, not knowing anybody or anywhere to go, just going there. And through looking for help, they were referred to the church because the church was giving out help. And through those steps, their daughter started to come to all of these youth events and slowly came out of her shell, now speaks like she did before, speaks Polish fluently, is one of the top in her class there, and is now talking about becoming a psychologist. Her mom is some kind of surgeon. I don't remember what she does. And the mom said, you've done this to my daughter. You've brought her back. The mom's not even going to church. Mom's busy with her stuff. But she'll go with her grandma, and she's also, her name is Svetlana. She also is the bringer of new people. You have to come with me. You have to come to the church. And so this girl is right now in Sopot, Poland, getting ready for this event that's happening. What's that? I know. So the church is growing in Ukraine and outside of, made up of Ukrainians. That top left picture is that church in Poland that was completely closed, and now they've got a big group there. The one on the bottom right is the one in Warsaw. Bottom middle is the church building in Kharkiv where we were for 8 years, and they see full rooms all the time of people who are coming for the food, for the study, for the singing, and we're proud of all of these guys that are giving their lives to serving others. The man on the left, his name is Sasha Dorokhov, also graduated UBI many, many, many years ago, and he was a part of the church we were a part of in Kyiv, and he was someone else who was on his way down into the metro, down to the subway, and snatched by military police. And that same day, a couple other people were also grabbed. He didn't know them at all, but all three were very serious Christians, and all three were conscientious objectors. And they said, we're not signing anything, we're not going anywhere, we're not taking a weapon into our hands. And they didn't know what to do with them. This is already a couple of years ago. This is not news. They didn't know what to do with them because you can't force them if they're not going to sign up and wear what they're supposed to wear. But they also don't like them, and they're not helpful. And so they went through quite a time of persecution, And he said, I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'll help in any way you want, but I'm not taking a weapon in my hands, and I'm not going to sign a paper because everybody knows once you sign up, you'll do whatever they tell you to do. You can't. They'll send you wherever they want you to go. So he ended up not just doing well, but doing extremely well. He's a handyman. There was a lot to fix, a lot to be done in the base he was at. He earned the respect of those above him. He started working in the kitchen, and over time asked whoever his commanding officer was if he and another Christian could start a church on the base. And so they've been doing that for about a year, and they had their first baptism a month or two ago, and this was that. He is treated like a soldier. He has his uniform. He gets leave time, but he's never signed a paper, never done anything to say I'm a soldier. But he's a trustworthy guy. He's a really great guy and one of the most joyful Christians I've known. So beautiful things are happening in Ukraine while the terrible things are as well, and very thankful for the opportunity to have the role we do where I get to see it firsthand, and then I get to be involved in making it happen, and that happens partly through your support of us and our family. And so I want to thank you for that. And then in the last few minutes that we have, I just want to mention, probably most of you have heard by this point, but our family decided a couple of months ago after a long time thinking about this, but basically after 4 years of thinking about what are we supposed to do, that we're going to be moving back to the States. This decision has been put off for a long time because for a long time it felt like doing that would mean leaving this, and we didn't want to do that. But as 99% of what I do is remote work, and we've thought about the other parts that aren't so remote, we've decided that I can continue to do this and do it from over here. And it'll be inconvenient as far as time zones, but otherwise I'll continue to be able to continue to teach, lead my staff, make a couple trips into Ukraine a couple times a year, just like I'm doing now. So it's something we've decided based on a variety of reasons, but the short of it is we as a family need to do this for our family's health. We've been isolated in a place no one even asked us to go to for a very long time, and we need some support now. Well, 14 years living in Ukraine and coming up on 19 years in this minute, to include the last coming up on, 5 years in February will be this war. So, yeah, 19 years this coming springtime. 10. Yes, I was. What's that?
Welcome home.
Well, it's not happened yet, but thank you. And so this is our plan. We're here for the summer. Like our normal trip, we're visiting supporters, family, We'll go back in August. We'll get UBI started. We'll get Justice's School started. We need to make a couple of trips to visit some works in Europe. And then the plan is in December, once UBI goes to winter break, we'll come back. And we don't know where we're going to land. There's all kinds of options and reasons, pros and cons for every location. But we will be coming straight here is the plan for the holidays, and then try to figure out what we're going to do. It's not likely we'll stay here on the West Coast, again, for a variety of reasons, but one of them is 10 hours time difference from Ukraine makes trying to stay connected almost impossible. Teaching at like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. in the morning, those kinds of things. So it's not probable, but we are trying to stay open to any opportunity that we have. So, if you have any questions about that before we finish. Yeah, Bill?
It's unfortunate that it appears that war draws people to God in a very large way that we don't see here.
Yeah, it's probably more unfortunate that peace is temptation to draw away from God, that we can't accept that blessing of peace. But yeah, there is, I mean, when you've lost your home and everything you know, and maybe several of the people you do know, you look at life a little differently, and that's good. Now, the majority of people, they come for the food and they disappear, and they know that. The ministers know that, and it's beautiful. Every time we meet, every year we meet for this, we give them all 5 minutes to share about their ministry, and it's really wonderful when they say, like, it starts with the food. We're taking care of people. It doesn't matter if they come back or not, but this has been the most effective evangelism tool that we've seen in decades, because we are reaching people and people are interested and want to come. So if you're looking at percentages, you might say, well, that's a lot of food you're just giving away. But you're meeting a physical need, and it is having eternal ramifications. So. All right, it is 10:15. As always, thanks for listening, and we'll be back to share about creating a rule of life in a few minutes.